When the villagers came to know that a calf's goat had given birth to a human child, they killed the calf and made it homeless. The villagers said, "You must have done something wrong with the goat." That's when the goat gave birth to a human child. The poor calf was crying and screaming, "For God's sake, believe me. I'm not like that. I admit that I love this goat more than my life. But I never did anything wrong. I'm telling you the truth. And this is the truth," the calf told me. "When I was grazing my goats, suddenly my favorite goat, Chandni, stopped at one place and started meowing in a strange way. I was very worried. I thought maybe she had seen a snake. But I was relieved when I went closer and saw a milk-drinking calf lying under a tree next to the goat. I immediately picked up the calf and my goat was constantly licking it. At first I was surprised. But I thanked God when I saw the calf. You all know that I have been childless for a long time. That's why I picked up the calf and brought it home. And started raising it like my son." The villagers did not believe the calf. And they crossed all limits of cruelty with it. They decided to kill it and throw it out of the village. It was given 2 days to leave the village with its belongings, wife, goats and child. Some sensible people thought that the matter should be investigated further. "We have never heard that a goat gave birth to a human child. We should go to a scholar and find out the truth of this matter." They all went to a scholar and told him everything. The scholar advised that a doctor should take help from a doctor. The villagers called the doctor. He examined the child and said, "This child is absolutely healthy. And it is definitely born among humans. This child cannot be a goat." The villagers still doubted the calf. When they did not find out the real father of the child, they believed that the calf was guilty. They threw the calf out of the village. The poor calf went to another village with its wife, goat and child. It made a hut near a forest and started grazing. It and its wife started raising the child as if it was their own son. The calf's goat also loved the child a lot. It smelled it like its own children and fed it milk. Then God blessed the house of a merchant with the house of the calf. The merchant had 2 wives. One of his wives was very kind, well-mannered and good-natured. The wife of the calf had received a lot of blessings. And they had become friends. The merchant's good wife loved the calf's son very much. She would often fill her eyes with tears when she saw him and sometimes carry him in her lap. One day the wife of the calf asked her, "Sister, why do you get so upset when you pick up my child? It seems that you are very sad and something has definitely gone wrong with you. What has happened?" Meanwhile, the merchant's second wife, who was very jealous of their friendship and was very angry with the child, came to her and said, "Do you two keep arguing with each other? And how badly does your child shout? Why do you come to our house every day? Stay in your house." The merchant's good wife had tears in her eyes. She was left speechless. And with tears in her eyes, she immediately returned home. In the evening, when the calf returned home after grazing the goats, his wife told him everything while crying. She said, "I had gone to my neighbor's house. There was a merchant's wife who was very kind and well-mannered. She is always happy to see my child and she has tears in her eyes. When I asked her the reason, she was about to tell me something that the merchant's second wife came and scolded me and threw me out of the house." The calf was deeply moved to hear these words. He said, "There must be something wrong with the calf. I think the merchant's cunning wife must be up to something evil in her mind. Do this. Go to his house when you get a chance and find out the truth. Maybe you will find out the real father of our son." The calf's wife said, "Okay, I will definitely go tomorrow." The next day, when the calf went to graze the goats, his wife got a chance and reached the merchant's house. The merchant's cunning wife had gone to the Kulsum market and the merchant's second innocent wife, Zarina, was alone at home. When Zarina saw the calf's wife coming home, she immediately took the child and started playing with him. Zarina said to the child, "You know, I had a beautiful son like you, just like you, but I don't know where he is. I can only see him in you. I don't understand, did my child eat the ground or swallow the sky? I didn't find my child anywhere." The calf's wife became alert and said, "Sister, what happened to you? Tell me openly, why do you cry so much?" Then the merchant's innocent wife, Zarina, started telling her story. "I am the second wife of the merchant. Actually, my husband had no children from his first wife. That's why my husband married me again out of helplessness. Allah blessed me after a few months and I became pregnant. There was no place for my husband's happiness. He started loving me a lot. But Kulsum didn't like this at all. She used to fight with me on the pretext and tell me all kinds of things. Many times she even tried to kill me and drop my child. But she always failed. When the day of the birth of the child came near, I started having a strange dream every night. There was a woman in the dream whose face was always covered. She used to snatch my child from me and run away. I used to wake up out of fear and tell all this to my husband. My husband used to say, "This is your delusion. Don't think too much in this condition." Allah will make everything better. But I never felt peace. I used to have the same dream every night. Then Allah blessed me with a son like the moon, just like your son. There was happiness in our house. My husband gave a lot of money to the poor. And in return he started giving a lot of blessings to my child. But this thought used to pierce my wife's heart like an arrow. Then one day the hour of doom came when we were sleeping at night. So I put my child to sleep right next to me. But when I woke up in the middle of the night, I saw that my child was not on the bed. I immediately got up and started looking for my child from my bed. Sometimes I used to look under the bed, thinking that my child might have fallen on the floor. When I couldn't find my child anywhere, I picked up the sky and started crying. Where did my child go? When my husband, Saudagar, woke up, he was also in agony. Kulsum was sitting and consoling me. Since that day we have been looking for my child a lot. But we couldn't find my child. Saying this, Saudagar's wife started crying. Meanwhile, Saudagar's cunning wife, Kulsum, had come home. She had heard a few things about both of them. She was getting very angry at Saudagar's innocent wife. She was thinking to herself, I hope Saudagar's wife doesn't reveal my secret. And why is this Zarina so attached to the son of this beast? Is this the same child that I had hunted? Then she shook her mind and said, No, I had buried him well in the ground. How can that child be alive? This must be my illusion. I also think a lot. But she was not at peace. She kept thinking that I should go and see where I had buried the child. Has anyone taken the child out of there? She started thinking by now the child's bones must have been crushed. Then she got a chance and quickly ran towards the forest, where she had buried Zarina's child. She quickly dug there and started looking for the child. Here the shepherd was also grazing goats in the same forest. The shepherd's goat, Chan's eyes fell on that woman. The goat looked at that woman carefully and started thinking, whether it is the same woman who had brought the child here that night. Kulsum was shocked and worried. When she looked in the hole, there was no sign of the child. She was going crazy thinking, where did the child go? Maybe someone took the child from here. Then she thought, this is even better news. Because now that child cannot reach anyone. Thinking so much, she returned home. The merchant's cunning wife, Kulsum, had also caught the merchant in her clutches. She kept filling her ears against poor Zarina. Your second wife is definitely cursed. God had blessed you with a beautiful son, but she herself ate her own child. The merchant no longer loved Zarina much and went to her less often. One night, Zarina again got scared in her dream. She was dreaming again and again that her child was in her lap, and a woman snatched it and ran away. She woke up from her dream and started screaming. The merchant came to her and consoled her. Why are you crying? The merchant asked Zarina. Zarina said, I had the same dream again today, that a woman was snatching my child from me, and I couldn't do anything. Kulsum was also listening to this. She got very angry and said, Why are you blaming me again and again? Zarina said in tears, I'm not blaming you. I'm just telling you what I dreamt. As the son of the merchant grew up, he started grazing goats with his father. But the merchant always told his son, Son, make your future, study, grazing goats is not a job. Then the merchant decided to educate his son. Here, the merchant's wife did not know that the son she was living for was growing up with her. The merchant's wife was getting attached to that boy. Sometimes she would hide from the door and sometimes she would see that boy from the outside and keep crying. Here, the merchant went to the forest to graze his goats. Suddenly the weather got bad. Strong winds started blowing and it was raining heavily. The merchant gathered his goats and sat under a tree. And the rain started to stop. God's will, the rain was so heavy that a branch of a tree fell on the shepherd. The goats ran away from there, but the shepherd fell to the ground. The faithful goat of the shepherd pulled the silver shepherd and tried to get him out of there. The goat kept crying out in a loud voice, but she could not save the speechless shepherd. The shepherd died there. On that day there was a disaster in the shepherd's house. The shepherd's son Hassan sat next to him and he was crying. In the evening the shepherd's funeral was held and he was buried. The shepherd wished that his son would become a great man by studying, and become a Hafizi Quran. His wife had a very difficult time during her mourning days. She would stay locked in her room. She would neither go out nor let her child go out. She would starve herself, but she would feed her son. The relatives kept the shepherd's goats for a few days and arranged for their fodder. When the shepherd's wife's mourning period was over, she thought, now I will feed the goats myself, and I will sell their milk and take care of myself and my son. After that, she started feeding her goats all day. When her son Hassan returned from school, he would go to help his mother. The truth was that the house where Hassan was born, the people in that house thought that their child was no longer in this world. On the other hand, Tazir's cunning wife Kulsum was ruling the house. Zarina, poor thing, had become a maid in her own house. She would work like a maid all day, and would bear every injustice of her stepsister Kulsum. She would never complain to anyone. When she was alone, she would pray and cry a lot in front of God. That day she would cry in front of her God and lighten her heart, which would give her patience. Tazir also no longer paid attention to Zarina. When Hassan came home after reciting the Quran, he said to his mother, "Mother, today I have completed the recitation of the Quran. I have fulfilled Baba's wish." Hassan said, "Mother, there is a very big event in our Jamia. There will be great clerics there and they will give us gifts. But I will not go there at all." His mother asked, "Son, why? What is the reason that you will not go there?" Hassan said, "Mother, my clothes are old and torn. Children call me poor and make fun of me. That is why I will not go there." The cunning wife hugged him and said, "Son, I have saved some money by selling goat's milk. I will go to the market today and buy good clothes and shoes for you." Then he said, "The Tazir's wife told me to work in the house near our house. So what do I have to do all day at home? I will sweep the house of the Tazir's wife for a while so that I can teach you further." The next day the Tazir's wife went to the Tazir's house. Tazir's cunning wife was looking at the Tazir's wife with anger. He did not want to hire the cunning wife because she wanted to get all the housework done by Zarina. But Zarina was not feeling well for many days. So he hired the cunning wife. The cunning wife felt very sorry for Zarina because she had told her entire story to the cunning wife a few days earlier. Poor Zarina was really beginning to consider herself ominous and said, "I can't even go out of the house. Now I have to live and die in this house because my parents are also not in this world." The cunning wife consoled her a lot and said, "Why do you think you are guilty? Because of these words of yours, your wife has turned your husband towards her. Have faith in yourself. If Allah has taken away one of your children, then Allah will give you another child. How old are you? Now look at my condition. I was childless all my life, but I did not even let my husband look at another woman. You also do not turn your husband towards you. Take care of him and make him feel like you. If brother Tazir is the husband of Kulsum, then he is also your husband." Zarina began to understand the words of the cunning wife. Now she began to take care of herself. Now she used to wear clean clothes and cook the food of her husband's choice and took care of every small and big need of her husband. Seeing this, the snake began to return to Kulsum's chest. One day when the cunning wife left her son at home and went to the trader's house for work, she said to her son, "Son, you are free from school today. You do this, take the goats and take them home. I have to go to work soon, otherwise my wife will get angry." Saying this, the cunning wife came to Tazir's house. There was an open plot outside Tazir's house in which a lot of grass had grown. Hassan took his goats and started feeding the goats in the same plot. Hassan was explaining to his goat Chandni not to stop here and eat grass and not to enter this house. Hassan's goat Chandni was very smart and stopped there and started eating grass. Hassan entered that house and went to his mother. That day Zarina had a very high fever and Tazir was also taking good care of his wife. He spent the whole night with his wife. Seeing this, Tazir's wife Kulsum was left with water. If she had her way, she would never have allowed Tazir to go to Zarina. Kulsum was now thinking in her mind, surely she is the wife of the shepherd who teaches her the ropes, otherwise how did Zarina become so intelligent? Whenever she was sick, Tazir never even asked her and today he is taking such good care of her. She was lost in these thoughts. Here Zarina's heartbeats were very fast because Hassan had stepped into her house. A mother is a mother. After all, she gave birth to Hassan. Hassan was still a child and was raised in poverty. He had never seen expensive toys. But where he was standing, Kulsum's daughter's toys were lying in that room. Hassan took out the toys from the glass cupboard and started playing there. Kulsum's daughter was also very brave like Kulsum. When Hassan touched her toys, she started hitting Hassan and quickly snatched her toys. Hassan started crying. Here the wife of the shepherd was washing utensils in the kitchen. When Zarina heard the crying of the child, she immediately said, "This is my child crying." But Tazir thought that Zarina was saying this because of fever. Zarina immediately ran out of the room like crazy. When she went near Hassan and saw him crying, God knows what happened to her. She immediately hugged Hassan and said, "No, my child, don't cry now because your mother has come to you." Hassan also felt his mother's lap when he hugged Zarina. When Hassan's goat, Chandni, heard Hassan's crying, she immediately entered Tazir's house. The goat's eyes were red. She was staring at Kulsum's daughter. Before the goat attacked the child, Kulsum also came out of the room. Although this incident had passed for a long time, but she had recognized the mute goat Kulsum. She was the same woman who had tortured this innocent child Hassan many years ago. There was no one else to bury Hassan in the ground but this woman. The goat didn't see or think anything and attacked Kulsum. Kulsum immediately fell to the ground. The goat started licking his face with its teeth. Everyone got scared and moved back. Tazir was surprised to see all this. He immediately tried to remove the goat from there. Zarina was shocked to see what had happened, that this mute animal attacked Kulsum. By the time Tazir had moved the goat back, the goat had tortured Kulsum's face. When the goat started attacking again, Hassan quickly moved forward and hugged the goat. He took his goat out crying. Tazir's wife was thinking about the son of the shepherd again and again. Will that child be alone at home? What would he be doing? Would he be hungry? Would he have eaten food or not? One day she hid from her family and went to his house and told Hassan, "Son, until your mother comes home, do this, come with me." When Hassan started going with Zarina, the goat started pulling Hassan from his clothes. That tasteless goat was not letting him go with Zarina. Then Zarina took that goat with her and brought them both to her house. When Tazir saw the goat, he turned red with anger. He ran to hit the goat. Then Zarina immediately moved forward and said, "Maybe this mute goat wants to tell us something." Tazir said, "It seems that you have lost your mind in the meantime." Hassan stood nearby and prostrated and started crying. He started praying, "Oh Allah, I don't know what this mute goat wants to tell us and why this goat has created a ruckus in this house. Oh God, give this goat a tongue so that my beloved can save the life of this goat from this Tazir." When Hassan got tired of praying, he came to the goat and said, "Oh my dear goat Chandni, tell me what you want to tell everyone." In the meantime, that goat started speaking by the command of Allah and started telling. It was many years ago. We were grazing in the jungle. At that time, a woman was running in the jungle with her child in her arms. As soon as she came, she dug a hole and buried the child in it. Then that goat pointed to Hassan and said, "That child was no one else. It was Hassan." As soon as Kulsum heard this, the ground shook under his feet. The next thing the goat said, he heard it and sat down holding his head on the ground. The goat said, "That woman is no one else. In fact, this is the woman I attacked. When this woman buried the child and left, I immediately dug the ground and took out the child and took it in my mouth and went to my master, the shepherd." When people were upset that the goat had a human child, they doubted the shepherd. The shepherd tried a lot to explain himself to everyone. But people didn't listen to a word of the shepherd. Although he was a pious man, he was a 5-time worshipper. The villagers accused him and threw him out of the village. And my master, the shepherd, started living in a hut near your house. But he educated his child well and raised him well. But when this child grew up, he was not lucky to see him. He left this world. I am a speechless animal. I will pray to God that, oh God, never forgive this woman. Tazir's wife, Zarina, heard all this and started crying. And she immediately went ahead and hugged Hassan and said, "This child kept growing in front of my eyes and I didn't even know that this is my blood, this is my son." Tazir could not even imagine that his wife, Kulsum, could be so cruel to his child. Kulsum's face was very bad and she was screaming in pain. When she heard what the goat said, she immediately refused. But there was a lot of commotion there. Everyone started saying, "These speechless animals cannot speak like humans. But she is speaking by the command of God. So this woman is a liar." Meanwhile, Kulsum screamed and said, "Yes, I did everything. You got married again while I was alive, and on top of that, she gave birth to a beautiful son. And if this boy had become the heir, then where would my daughter go? That's why I wanted to finish this boy's work. But unfortunately, he survived today." As soon as he heard this, the villagers there were shocked. They were all shocked and embarrassed. They gave such a big punishment to an innocent person. Then the elders of that village immediately fell at the feet of the goat's wife and started apologizing. They said, "You should come back to our village." The goat's wife was very kind. She had only one condition. She will come back to the village only when there is justice with her. Then all the villagers decided that Tazir's wife will be employed in the village so that she can atone for her mistake. Tazir was not able to kill his wife. Then in anger, Tazir divorced his wife. After this, the goat's wife started coming back to the village. Then Hassan started crying. Then Tazir took the goat's wife as his sister and kept her in his house. Tazir and Zarina hugged their son and cried a lot. Now Hassan started living a happy life with his 2 mothers. Dear friends, how did you like this incident? I hope you liked it a lot. To hear more such incidents, subscribe to our channel and be a part of our family. Thank you.